Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Academy, India's largest online learning portal for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam Malkani. I'm going to be your facilitator and guide for CAT and management exam preparation. I hope all of you are preparing very hard and leaving no stone unturned in preparing for this exam this year. Now you are coming close to the date of actual exam and you must be feeling a lot of jittery. I thought of discussing CAT 19 passages so that we can have a real discussion of those passages and I can bring some clarity about reading comprehension, since this is the one part which is going to dominate your verbal ability part. I thought this is going to give you some clarity about reading comprehension. Last year, 2019 passages were considered very difficult. Most of the passages were from moderate to difficulty level. And a lot of students found it very difficult to deal with the questions of those passages. Hence, the cutoff went really low. If 2020 exam follows the same pattern, follows the same level of difficulty, you need to be aware of the kind of passages which appeared last year, so that if you find same kinds of passages, you know how to deal with that passage. All right, so I'm going to talk about CAT 19 passage. I have picked up one passage and same time tomorrow I'll pick another passage. So stay tuned on this channel for more discussion of CAT 19 reading comprehension passages. Let me give you a brief introduction of myself for those of you who are joining me for the first time or who are watching my video for the first time. I have around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry and I have trained students of CAT, GRE, GMAT doing well in their verbal ability and reasoning section. I have also sat in design assessment papers of English and served as an examiner of English for an international organization. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. Now let me tell you a bit about Unacademy and how you can be part of this portal. You have to download Unacademy Learning app and fill in all the details required. After downloading the app, you will see these courses there. If you want to attend classes for CAT, you have to go in plus category. Once you go in that and go for the subscription, you will be shown all the features that you will be availing if you sign up for the course, such as 30 hours of live session, 30 hours of live session by prominent faculties of their respective fields. Those people who have been coaching and mentoring students for a long period of time in their specific domain. So here you will get to be taught by those people who have extensive experience of their respective fields. The courses which are delivered by these faculty members are well structured, well designed. Every new month you get to see a new course being launched on the portal. As per the needs of a specific exam, you will see a course launched on the portal. And you will have access to all the courses which are launched on Plus Pay platform. You can choose the model of subscription as per your requirements. If you are preparing for CAT 2020 and you want to brush up your skills for this year only, you can go for one subscription. If you are preparing for CAT 2021, you can go for 1 year subscription. So as per your needs and requirements, you can choose the subscription. These are very pocket friendly and very economical. Whichever subscription you choose, if you want to avail for the 10% discount, you have to type code Neelam, Neelam, and then you will be able to avail the discount of 10%. National Scholarship Test. Now this started from 18th of October and every Sunday this test is organized by Unacademy on the basis of the recent changes which have been brought in CAT this year. As you know, the time has been reduced, so each section is going to have 40 minutes. So as per these changes and recent developments, the the pattern has been designed of this test. The test is going to be conducted every Sunday, and right after taking the test you can attend the analysis of each section. Analysis by a faculty who has designed the section. So with that you will get to see what mistakes you are making and what you can do to improve your score in that respective section. As well as you will get to see where you stand in terms of your All India ranking, because ultimately you're competing against students All India level. So you need to know where you stand or what your position is against those peers. So with this test performance, you will get to see where you stand in terms of your preparedness level. Third, you will also see your scaled score in each section. So in each section, you will see what you need to do further to elevate your score in final exam. Alright, so all these benefits you can avail by taking one single test. Over and above, you can also get an Amazon voucher of rupees 5,000 if you are one of the top 50 scorers. If you are one of the top 50 scorers, you stand a chance of winning Amazon voucher of rupees 5,000. So what more can you ask for? Go enroll yourself and take the test coming Sunday. Now let's get started with today's session. As I said, 2019 passages were quite difficult and quite perplexing. A lot of students got befuddled when they found these passages and they could not actually attempt the questions. I thought of giving you the source of one of the passages. Now, the passage which I have taken up to discuss today was taken up from leading newspaper The Atlantic. So I have shared with you the link of that article in that newspaper where the article was published. I've also given you the name of the writer. Now what authors do and what examiners do is entirely different. Author writes holistically. Author gives a comprehensive analysis of an issue. So here, author Amanda, who wrote this article for Atlantic newspaper, gave entire ins and out of this issue that she picked up. Whereas the truncated form of the article was used for the passage. So when examiner decided to take the passage, the examiner did away with some of the paragraphs. So when you read the passage, you find where sometimes it is disjointed, because you see some paragraphs are not seamlessly connected with previous paragraph, right? So this usually happens because they do not take these articles as they are published in the newspaper. They pick and choose the details where they feel questions can be framed, or the details which they feel can be used for creating options or creating questions. So that way, if you read this article in the newspaper, you will understand this whole passage, or you will understand this whole issue in a larger perspective. Whereas when you read the passage, you will feel that something is missing. You possibly do not have a clear picture with this passage. Alright, so this is going to happen with you. And this is something which is beyond you. You cannot really question the discretion of the examiner, right? So it is completely on the discretion of examiner to choose a specific passage, specific part of the article to be given as the passage. Same time, for paragraphical questions as well, you will see that sometimes they are taken from the middle of an article. We invariably discuss the techniques for paragraphical question, in which we see that opening statement is to be asserted. You have to discover how this paragraph is to be started. But sometimes you cannot make head and tail of what is given as the paragraphical, because the question has been taken from somewhere in the middle of an article. So here you have to work around the option. You have to work with the kind of question that you are given. Alright? So with whatever strategy you have devised to do these questions, you have to work around the options and come up with the right answer. Right? So this is how they had tried to compound the difficulty level of questions, because it's very easy to follow an article which is taken as it is. But it's very difficult to ascertain author's opinion, author's point of view when some parts are missing. So that's how they are trying to compound the difficulty level. Now, one more point that I would like to emphasize is that if you are exposed to these leading newspapers and you read these stuff, usually those stuff which are pet subjects of cat, you possibly will not have any difficulty in solving these passages because you're already conversant with the subjects. The subjects are not going to be startling when you encounter them in your exam. Same way, if you keep on reading these articles in these leading newspapers only, you will be aware of the verbiage, the jargons, the terms which are used in these different domains. So this article was taken from e-commerce, right? So there are some phrases, some terms which are prevalent in that field only. So if you are familiarized with these different domains, any passage will not pose any kind of challenge to you in terms of comprehension. The questions may be difficult, finding answer may be difficult, but reading and comprehending the passage may not be difficult for you if you are exposed to this quality reading. All right. So since I give you the source, the Atlantic, a couple of other newspapers like Washington Times, the New York, last year as well when I discussed passages with those students who were preparing for CAT 19, I gave them an article which was taken from Al Jazeera. Alright, so you can see that they have taken up these international newspapers instead of going for a national leading newspaper, which is possibly accessible to everyone, and every student makes it a point that he reads editorial of Hindu or Times of India. So instead of taking articles from these newspapers, they have shifted their focus on international newspaper, right? So this is one of those examples where international newspaper, The Atlantic, forms is the source of one of the passages of CAT 19. Now let's start doing the passage. I'll give you the passage and I'll give you some time to read the passage so that you can understand the gist. I have boldfaced some parts, I have underlined some parts. So with that you can skim the passage. I have done that just to show you that you don't have to read the entire passage to understand it. If you have a flair for reading, or if you have been a good reader, avid reader, then possibly by skimming also you can understand the whole perspective of the author. But for that, you need to be a very good reader. Alright, so I'll give you 40 seconds to read the passage, to have a thorough read of the passage, and then we will discuss the questions. You can skim or you can paraphrase. Okay, last 1 minute to go. All right, so I'll give you the sum and substance of this passage, each paragraph, right? Whichever method you adopted, did you read entire passage or you read only the part which I have boldface or underlined? I hope you have understood the whole gist of the passage, right? Now, let me read it out for you and give you a sum and substance of this. Contemporary internet shopping conjures a perfect storm of choice and anxiety. So here, the very first line is going to talk about the topic, that is choice anxiety, because we have so many things to choose from. Research has consistently held that people who are presented with a few options make better, easier decisions than those presented with many. So here, author is citing the example of research to put forward his opinion. He feels that easier decision can be made if you are presented with fewer options, right? So if you have many options, your decision is likely to be bad. Helping consumers figure out what to buy amid an endless sea of choice, online has become a cottage industry unto itself. So this I did not boldface because this is not the primary detail, but the primary detail was the first part. But here, the understanding is that since these consumers are facing so many problems, so many choices, an entire new industry has emerged which is helping these people to find out what to buy among all the options they are facing. Many brands and retailers now wield marketing buzzwords such as curation. So I boldface this. Instead of this, I boldface this, a curation, differentiation, discovery, as they attempt to sell an assortment of stuff targeted to their ideal customers. The new industry has emerged. Now, who are working in this industry? The brands and retailers. They are working in this industry and they have created buzzword like curation, differentiation, discovery, as they are trying to sell the different products to ideal customer. How are they finding these ideal customers? The next sentence, companies find such shoppers. Such shoppers is referring to ideal customers. How are they finding these such ideal customers? Through the data gold mine of digital advertising, which can catalog people by gender, income level, personal interest, and more. So these companies which have emerged as the cottage industry are completely dependent on the data which is segregated on the basis of people's gender, their income level, their personal interest, and more. So they have these data, and as per these data, they segregate their customer, they target their ideal customer. Since Americans have lost the ability to sort through the sheer volume of the consumer choices available to them, a ghost now has to be in the retail machine, whether it's an algorithm, an influencer, or some snazzy attack to help a product follow you around the internet. Now, here he talks about what attitude Americans have built up. So, they are not able to deal with so much bombardment of information, hence, they have come up with this solution. Algorithm. So, algorithm is going to sort out data for them. An influencer is going to be a medium between the ideal customer and the retailer, and some snazzy attack who is going to read and analyze data for them. Choice fatigue is one reason so many people gravitate towards lifestyle influencers on Instagram. So again, the point that he put forwarded in the very first line is that people are facing so many choices and hence they are not able to make best decisions for themselves. So here comes entire industry, new industry, which is helping people make better decisions when they are faced with a lot of options. Right? So the companies are doing it with data, social influences, algorithm, and everything. Now leave out the last detail. This is just an example, right? So with whatever you find after, return after dash is always an example, is always a detail, is always a justification. You can leave that detail out. all right? Because that will always be in service of the idea. So if you have understood the idea, you can leave out this detail. Now, let me read it out for you in order to prove that this was just an example. The relentlessly chic young moms and perpetually vacationing 20-something who present an aspirational worldview and then recommend the product and services that help achieve it. The same point which was expressed in the sentence before. Choice fatigue is one reason so many people gravitate toward lifestyle influencer on Instagram. After dash, the author has given two examples of these Instagram influencer. One, a chic mom. Second, a person who is perpetually vacationing. So people are influenced by them and they make their choices as per the post they put up on their social media account or on different platforms that they are given by the retailers. All right. So the sum and substance of this paragraph is choice fatigue is gravitating people towards a different industry where retailers are helping customers buy different products. All right, with the help of social influencers and data mining. All right, so this is how you can understand this whole paragraph. So sum and substance, or the paraphrased version of one line of this paragraph is this. Now let's read second paragraph. For a relatively new class of consumer startup, there is another method entirely. So there's another method that the author wants to talk about. So this part was bold-faced. Instead of making sense of a sea of existing stuff, these startup companies, claim to disrupt stuff as Americans know it. Now, the status quo is disrupted by these companies. As Americans know this stuff, these companies are going to disturb that status quo. How? Here comes the example. Casper, which makes mattresses. Glossier, which makes makeup. Away, which makes suitcases. And many other have sprouted up to offer consumers freedom from choice. How? So there is a colon. So colon will always explain the idea. How they have freed the consumer from choice. These companies have a few aesthetically pleasing and supposedly highly functional options. So they have come up with options which are very attractive, aesthetically pleasing. That means they are very attractive, pleasant to look at. Highly functional option means they are also high performing options, usually at mid-range prices. So they are priced in the mid-range. They are not exorbitant. They are not burning hole in the buyer's pocket. So that way they are affordable, they are good to look at, and they are highly functioning. So they have come up with these options. So you don't have to look for other options. You cannot be in dilemma about this product because this product actually offers you everything. It's affordable, it's highly functioning, and it is beautiful. All right. They are selling nice things, but maybe more importantly, they are selling a confidence in those things. So through their own credibility, they are selling the confidence, they are infusing the confidence among buyers that the product they are buying is good, is reliable. They don't have to be confused about buying any other product. And an ability to opt out of this stuff rat race. So here, since they are offering a product which has everything, which offers buyers everything, these buyers are away from the stuff rat race. They are not faced with so many options because they completely rely on buying the product given by these companies. So here comes another strategy of specific companies which are bringing these products, which are complete package. Alright, so here second paragraph is talking about another strategy. First paragraph is talking about those companies which are bringing social influencers, algorithm, and they are segregating data and bringing the ideal customer. These companies, startup companies, consumer product startup are targeting those people who are going to be lured by this kind of product, which is mid-range, which is aesthetically pleasing and highly functional. Third paragraph. $1,000 mattresses and $300 suitcase might solve the choice anxiety for a certain tier of customer. Now here comes the author's contradiction here. He's possibly going to find a loophole in the strategy which is there in the second paragraph. But the companies that sell them, along with those that attempt to massage the largest of economy into something navigable, are still just working within a consumer market that is broken in systematic way. So they are going to face this or other problem sooner or later. The presence of so much stuff in America might be more valuable if it were more evenly distributed. Now, this is what author's opinion is, evenly distributed. How? Please understand. Stuff's creator tend to focus their energy on those who already have plenty. These people who are creating these stuff are creating for those who can already afford a lot of product, who already have plenty. They can afford a lot of product because they have a lot of disposable income. As options have extended for people with disposable income, the opportunity to buy even basic things such as fresh food or quality diapers has contracted for much of America's lower classes. So the point that he put up in the previous sentence, evenly distributed, the stuff should be evenly distributed. This is the author's opinion. He's not quoting anyone else. He's not bringing any statistics, rather it's his own opinion. So he says it has to be more evenly distributed. These products are catering to those who already have a lot of stuff, who can afford these stuff. For middle income group or for lower income group, the product such as fresh food or quality diapers are still not affordable. So no company is targeting this income group. Here comes author's issue with the strategy which is adopted by consumer product startup. I hope we are clear so far. Last paragraph. For startups that promise accessible simplicity, their very structure still might eventually push them toward overwhelming variety. Now here comes author point of view. These startups, which are catering to a specific segment by designing a specific product, but their structure or their economic structure of the market they exist in is going to push them towards making different products, bringing variety. Why? Author comes with justification. Most of these companies are based on hundreds of millions of dollars of venture capital in investors, of which tend to expect a steep growth rate. Now, these startups have been funded by venture capitalists who expect a steep growth rate. They would definitely want more and more profit on the money they have invested in these startups. That can be achieved by selling that can't be achieved by selling one great mattress or one great sneaker. So if they do not diversify, if they do not expand their product base, they cannot achieve the target of their investors, their venture capitalists. The author says the very economic structure of these companies will compel them to diversify and bring in more and more product to their product base. Casper, now he gives example here. Casper has expanded into bedroom furnishing and bed linens. So from matrices, now it has expanded the product line. Now it's making bedroom furniture and bed linens. Glossier, after years of marketing itself as no makeup that requires little skill to apply, recently launched a full line of glittering color cosmetics. So this example is also trying to substantiate the author's point that these companies were compelled to do something that they averse to doing earlier, right? So no makeup. So this was the strategy of Glossier. Now it is launching a glittering color cosmetic which requires a lot of application, right? There may be no way to opt out of stuff by buying into the right thing. Here comes author's conclusive statement, right? So this whole paragraph is talking about the limitation of the strategy which has been adopted by these startups, right? And here also comes author's opinion that if they want to sustain in the market, if they want to be profitable, and if they want to recoup the investment that has been put up by the venture capitalist, these companies will have to diversify. And he gives example of two companies which have already diversified. And they have kind of gone against the very ethos they adopted when they went into the market. Alright? So I hope the whole skeleton of the passage is clear and we have already understood what author's opinion is and what example he gave and his point of view, right? So it's very clearly understandable that what his point of view is. The very first paragraph states what he believes, and then towards the end, he comes up with some limitation. All right, now let's attempt the question. So for cat passages, when you take 2020 cat, in a way, if you have been taking a lot of mocks, you will be in a position to ascertain whether the passage is tough or easy, right? So, if the passage is tough, you will have to devise your strategy then and there to read the passage thoroughly. CAT still is an accuracy-based exam. It's not reading exam, it's reading comprehension. That means you have to comprehend what you read. You won't be given any mark for merely reading a passage. So, if you have chosen a passage to attempt, make it a point that you read it thoroughly. You paraphrase it. If the passage is complicated, try to deconstruct the passage. Understand line by line. Fine-tune your strategy of reading. Read those parts carefully which showcase the shift in author's idea. Time and again, we have discussed some words which always indicate the shift in his idea. But, therefore, right? Nonetheless, while, whereas, these are words which always showcase that author is going to bring his idea or author is going to transit his idea from another idea. Alright? So please be wary of these words and leave out examples, leave out statistics. Statistics, example, supporting details, they never represent greater detail or greater idea. You have to look at the larger picture. Alright? So whenever there is a question on a specific detail, you can always refer back to the passage, come back to the passage and find the detail and answer the question. But in order to understand the larger perspective, you have to have a thorough read of the passage. Alright? And then paraphrase, as we did with this passage. So that's how you have to read. Though it's going to be a bit time consuming, but it is going to pay you high dividends in terms of your accuracy. Now question 1. Which one of the following best sums up the overall purpose of the example of Casper and Glossier in the passage? He gives example in two paragraphs. First paragraph, in the third paragraph, he gives example of these two companies where they have designed. Okay, so, okay. Alright, the question is, which of the following best sums up the overall purpose of the example of Casper and Glossier in the passage? The author gave example in two paragraphs, third and fourth paragraph. In third paragraph, he exemplified these two companies to illustrate a point that certain startups have this strategy. And then in the fourth paragraph, he says that these companies have changed their strategy now to sustain in the market as well as to earn profit. Now look at the options. They are exceptions to a dominant trend in consumer market. The author talks about these two companies in the third paragraph as the strategy which is adopted by startup. But he nowhere says that they are the exception to a dominant trend, right? So first is eliminated, right? So he says in the third paragraph that these companies, startup, have adopted a different strategy. Now this strategy is exception to a dominant trend that's nowhere stated, eliminated. They are increasing the purchasing power of poor Americans. This is just against the author's opinion expressed in the passage. Author has actually said that these products are not afforded by those belonging to lower income groups because they are catered and designed to fulfill the needs of those who already have plenty things to buy, right? Second is also eliminated. Third and fourth. C says they might transform into what they were exceptions to. Fourth says they are facilitating a uniform distribution of commodities in the market. If you understood the passage clearly, read the third paragraph where he said, author said, and I also drew your focus on that author said these products should be evenly distributed. Poor people do not still have access to fresh food or quality diapers. That means these products are still not affordable for poor section of American society. That means D is also eliminated. Answer is C. Now from the last paragraph, you can make out why C is the answer. Now has Casper has gotten into a new industry where it's making bedroom furniture. So it started with a specific product, but now it has gotten into different products. That's widened its portfolio product. Same way, Glossier, which earlier touted to be a company which does not make product for makeup, but rather those products were so natural that it didn't look like makeup. But now it has created a new product which is glittering, right? So the very ethos that these companies were built around, now they are going against that. So they were exception to, but now they are also expanding. Alright, so that way C is the answer. By elimination, you can easily come to this answer. Look at question number 2. All of the following, if true, would weaken author's claim. Now, CAT has stopped testing your critical reasoning, so it does not give you critical reasoning question overtly, right? But in reading comprehension, it does test your critical analysis. So by asking questions of strengthening, by asking questions of weakening, finding the assumption of the author, finding the flaw in the author's reasoning, it is testing nothing but critical reasoning. So RC is actually a fusion of both reading and critical understanding. So you will have to display both these skills. Alright, so here if true would weaken author's claim. So in order to do this kind of question, you have to have thorough understanding of author's perspective, right? So this question can never be attempted by having a cursory reading of the passage. Unless you have clear understanding of the passage as well as author's perspective on the passage, you won't be able to do this, right? So as I said, for CAT passages, accuracy is of utmost importance. So you read the passage thoroughly, invest time there, you're going to get lesser time in solving the questions. First option, the annual sale of companies that hired lifestyle influencers on Instagram for marketing their product were 40% less than those they did not. Now, in the very first paragraph, author kind of supported that these companies are hiring these different people because Americans are not able to analyze and to visualize the data they are given. So they have hired, those people who are going to read data for them, who are going to function as influencer, and who are going to design algorithm for them, right? So in a way, author agreed that social influences do have an impact on people's mind. gave example of two social influencers because they minimize the buyer's confusion, and people also have a kind of reliance on them, right? So if this information is true, that is going to weaken author's opinion. Author says that social influencers help companies in bringing more revenues and bringing more ideal customers. But if this information is true, the annual sale of companies that hired lifestyle influencer on Instagram, their sale was 40% less than that who did not. So that way, this can be weakened. Author's opinion is contradicted by this statement. So hence, this is not the answer because you have to choose except. Second option, product options increased market competition, bringing down the prices of commodities, which in turn increased purchasing power of the poor. Author found objection in this strategy where companies are targeting only those who already have plenty, who already have a huge disposable income. Here, if this is true, if this continues, if this trend continues, and ultimately it brings the prices down and these things become affordable for poor, then that is also going to weaken author's opinion, because author's opinion is that if this continues, poor people won't have access to quality things. This is also going to weaken author's opinion. Bringing, okay, fine. So C statement, the empowerment felt by purchasers in buying a commodity were directly proportional to the number of options they could choose from. Remember the very first sentence of this paragraph. He said, buyers make better decisions when they are faced with lesser options. If they are faced with more options, they tend to make bad decisions in terms of their shopping. Here, this statement, and he gave the example of a statistics as well. So that means he also gave that to support his idea. So here, this sentence says, the more choices people have, the more empowered they feel when they shop. That means more choices is nothing but good for my upliftment, for my feel-good factor, right? As a shopper, as a buyer, I want to face a lot of options, and then I want to choose among all the options. So that way, that is also weakening author's opinion. Author says that they are choice fatigue. Look at the phrases he used, right? So this is also weakening author's opinion. So by default, your answer is D, but let's read it out. The annual sales growth of companies with fewer product options were higher than that of companies which curated their product for target consumers. Author said in the last paragraph that the annual sales growth of companies with fewer product options were higher than that of companies with curated product of target customers. They will have to diversify. Last last paragraph said that they will have to diversify because they won't be able to earn profit. But here this says they were actually able to earn profit, right? So that's why this is the answer. This is not weakening. All right. Question 3. Based on the passage, all of the following can be inferred about consumer behavior except. Now, consumer behavior, we read about that in first and second paragraph broadly. Having too many product options can be overwhelming for consumers. That's very clearly stated in the very first paragraph. So, too many options leads to bad decision. Second, too many options have made it difficult for consumers to trust products. That's why they need a mediator like a social influencer or a person who would recommend them the product that they would want to buy. So that way, yes, there is a deficit of trust between consumer and the company. Consumers tend to prefer product by startups over those by established companies. And fourth is, consumers are susceptible to marketing images that they see on social media. So D says consumers are susceptible. Yes, they are susceptible. They are vulnerable. They tend to believe those images which they are exposed to on social media, and they get influenced by those images and ultimately buy those products which they are shown in these images and pictures. So yes, they are susceptible, right? What is not true? So C is not true there. Consumers tend to prefer product by startups, by overdose by established companies. This is nowhere stated. Neither can it be inferred by any of the paragraph. He talked about startup and he talked about a strategy which has been employed by startup, right? To minimize the confusion of consumers who face a lot of choices. But they did not, nowhere author said that consumers are preferring startup over established companies, right? Now, this is an application-based question which time and again has been asked consistently in CAT, previous year CAT. So you have to extrapolate information from the passage and apply it to a different domain or different um, knowledge, different sphere of knowledge, right? Or you are given a hypothetical situation where you are asked that if this is true, what would be the author's opinion? Or what would author agree with? Or would author agree with that or not? So that way, understanding author's perspective completely will give you the reflection of what he would agree with and what he would disagree with in a different or parallel situation. Alright? So if a passage is about health sector, and you understand author's perspective towards health sector, the situation may be like if author has to make a decision in economic sector, what his decision would be. So understanding his perspective and then applying that perspective and thought process on a different domain. So this question, this set of questions has time and again perplexed a lot of students. For this again, you have to have a thorough understanding of author as well as his approach towards the subject. Alright. Now a new food brand plans to launch a series of products in the American market. As per the author, which of the following plans is most likely to be supported by the author of the passage? Right? So if you believe, if you read it carefully, author said that the product should be evenly distributed. They are still affordable for a chosen few. Those people who already have plenty resources, plenty money to buy these products. These products are still not affordable by those who are poor. So here, author would possibly go for an option which is affordable as well as which offers a lot of, not a lot of product but limited product, right? Because author believes that few products will have less confusion and better decision making. Now, which option do you feel is the answer? Range of 10 products priced between $5 and $10. A range of 25 product priced between $5 and $10. A range of 10 products priced between $10 and $25. A range of 25 products priced between $10 and $25. So here, without any doubt, you should eliminate B and D because they are saying 25 product. So if you have an option of 10 and 25, you will always go for lesser products because author is of the opinion that fewer the options, lesser is the confusion and better is the decision. So a range of 10 products, A and C. Now since author said that these products should also be affordable for poor section or underprivileged section of American society, hence your answer should be A, right? So A, $5 and $10, 10 products. So that way it comes to an option which is feasible to as per the author's opinion. All right. So please, to do this question, you have to understand what the author believes. Last question of this passage: which of the following hypothetical statements would add the least depth to the author's prediction of the fate of startups offering new product options? Now this question itself is very confusing. Add least depth. So what does it exactly mean? What is it that it is asking you to do? And what is it that you have to find out, right? So it may be kind of baffling to understand what this question is asking you to do. So sometimes paraphrasing the question, the STEM question itself would give you more clarity. So if you're faced, because since you have invested so much time in understanding the passage, it would be unwise to leave a last question, right? So please paraphrase this question. So add least depth to the author's prediction. So author has predicted, last paragraph, he has made a lot of predictions, couple of predictions about these startups. They will have to diversify. So since we have understood this, so add the least depth. That means if one of the options is not going to support author's prediction. All right. So that's what this option is asking you to do. An exponential surge in their sales enables startups to meet their desired profit goals without expanding their product catalog. Let's hold it. Now, I hope you understand what this option means. Author predicted that these companies will be bound to expand their product catalog because they have to justify to their venture capitalists. Venture capitalists who have given so much money to these startups, they cannot earn profit by selling one product alone. They will have to diversify their product. They have already started doing that. He gave example of two companies. So that was the prediction of the author. So this says there was exponential surge in their sales and to meet their desired profit goals without expanding their product catalog. So let's hold it. B. Startup with few product options are no exception to the American consumer market that is deeply divided along class lines. So that is not actually least depth to the author's prediction. So actually this adds some depth to author's prediction because he also says it should be evenly distributed. That means there is a huge disparity in terms of incomes as well as in terms of accessibility of products. So this says the few options, product options are no exception to the American consumer market. So this is typically reflecting what American consumer market is. So this is adding some depth. With Casper and Glossier venturing into new product range, their regular customers start losing trust in the companies and their products. So here, the last line of this paragraph, towards the end, he said that they are doing what they vouched not to do earlier, right? Since they came into the market on this promise that they are going to cater to a specific product, and for that product, you don't have to think about any other company. You don't have to think about competition. And now they are bringing different products. So eventually, they are going to lose trust of consumers, right? So this is also author's opinion, and this option echoes with that opinion. With the motive of promoting certain rival companies, the government decides to double the tax rates for these startups. So if this is the scenario, this is going to prove author's prediction right, that these companies will have to diversify. They will have to diversify because the government decided to double the tax rates for these startups. So they were already funded by venture capitalists, so there was already obligation or financial accountability towards them, and now they have to face this double tax rate. That means it makes all the more reason for these startups to diversify their product, increase their sales and their revenue. Right? So this is again going to prove the author's prediction right. So here A is the answer. A says there was exponential surge in their sales, which enabled these companies to sustain with one product only. They did not have to diversify. This proves author's prediction wrong. Right? This was nothing but strengthening and weakening, which of them is weakening author's opinion. Alright? So the paraphrased version or the simplified version of this 10 question is which of them is going to weaken author's opinion. Alright? So with this passage, I hope I made it amply clear to you that understanding passage is very important. You cannot get away with that in a CAT passage. You have got to understand the passage, and for that you have to read it thoroughly. Right? So read every paragraph, deconstruct the passage if the passage is complicated, try to connect the logical link, and try to make out the larger picture. Right? Don't get